Today, we're diving into a really powerful tool for navigating the wild world of cybersecurity, the new and improved NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. Think of it as a strategic map, a clear guide to help any organization find its way. Let's get right into it.
Look, we all know the feeling. You've got threats coming from everywhere, the risks are huge, and the sheer number of things you could be doing is just, well, it's overwhelming. It can make you feel stuck before you even start. So really, where do you begin?
The answer isn't some fancy new piece of technology. It's actually much more fundamental than that. It's about getting everyone on the same page. You need a common language, a shared way of thinking that lets everyone, from the folks in the boardroom to the IT team in the server room, talk about and manage cyber risk in a way that makes sense.
And that is exactly what the NIST Cybersecurity Framework is all about. Now, what's really important to get here is that this is a voluntary guide. It's not a rigid one-size-fits-all checklist that you have to follow to the letter. Instead, it's a flexible set of goals, high-level outcomes that any organization, whether you're a tiny startup or a massive global company, can adapt for its own needs.
So, how does this thing actually work? Well, the heart of the framework is built around 6 core functions. You can think of these as the main jobs or pillars of any solid cybersecurity program, and they all work together in a continuous cycle.
Let's kick things off with the big new addition in version 2.0, Govern. This function sits right at the center of everything, kind of like the brain of the whole operation. It's all about setting the strategy, the policies, the big picture rules of the road that guide everything else. You see, without strong governance, all your other security efforts are just tactics without a real plan.
Next up is Identify, and this one is absolutely fundamental. I mean, it can't protect what you don't even know you have, right? This is all about taking stock of your hardware, your software, your data, even your suppliers, and then figuring out the specific risks tied to each of them. If you skip this step, you're pretty much flying blind. Okay, so once you know what you've got, you got to protect it. The protect function is all about the proactive stuff, the safeguards you put in place before something bad happens. We're talking about things like strong access controls, employee security training, and encrypting your data. It's basically locking the doors and setting the alarm.
But let's be real, no defense is ever going to be 100% perfect, and that's where Detect comes in. This function is your alarm system. It's about constantly monitoring your environment, looking for weird anomalies or signs of trouble, so you can catch an attack while it's happening, not weeks or months down the line when the damage is already done.
And when that alarm does go off, you have to have a plan ready to go. That's the respond function. It guides you on what actions to take the moment an incident is detected. The whole goal here is to contain the damage and kick the threat out as fast as possible. Without a good response plan, a tiny problem can explode into a massive crisis in no time.
And finally, we have Recover. After the fire is out, you need to get back to normal. This function is all about restoring your systems and operations safely and efficiently. But it's also about learning from what happened, so you can build more resilience and come back even stronger than before.
All right, so those are the 6 functions. But the big question is, how do you actually use them in the real world? Well, the framework gives us a really clever tool for this called Profiles. They're essentially how you create a custom roadmap for your organization's cybersecurity journey.
The easiest way to think about profiles is like using a GPS. Your current profile is that little "you are here" dot. It's an honest look at where your cybersecurity stands right now. Then you have your target profile, which is your destination. That's where you want to be, based on your business goals and your risk appetite, which is really just a fancy way of saying how much risk you're willing to accept.
And the process is pretty logical. You figure out what you're focusing on, you gather the data, and then you build out those 2 profiles, where you are and where you want to go. The magic really happens in step 4, when you look at the gap between the 2. That gap analysis tells you exactly what you need to do, and that becomes your action plan.
The framework also has a way for you to kind of grade yourself, to measure how sophisticated your whole cybersecurity program is. They're called tiers, and they describe the maturity of your risk management practices.
It's a scale from 1 to 4. At Tier 1, or partial, things are pretty chaotic. Security is reactive and informal. As you get better, you move up to risk-informed and then repeatable, where you have formal, documented processes. The ultimate goal for most is Tier 4 adaptive, where your security program is proactive, it's learning, and it's constantly improving, all on its own.
So we've gone through the what and the how, but let's zoom out and talk about the most important part. Why should you care? What's the real payoff for doing all this work?
At the end of the day, What this framework gives you is clarity. It helps you really truly understand your security situation. And once you have that understanding, you can start making smarter decisions, prioritizing your time and money based on what actually matters. It also gives you a clear way to talk about security needs and even manage risks coming from your suppliers.
And this quote right from the NIST document really nails it. The framework builds a two-way street for communication. It tears down that old wall between the executives setting the budget and the tech folks who are actually on the front lines, making sure everyone is finally speaking the same language. And that, right there, is the biggest win. This framework lets you take all that technical jargon and translate it into the language of business risk. All of a sudden, cybersecurity isn't some separate IT problem anymore. It's a core business risk that can be discussed right alongside financial risk or operational risk, exactly where it belongs.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Every serious organization on the planet has a clear, well-thought-out plan for managing its financial risk. The question that NIST CSF 2.0 forces us all to ask is this: do you treat your cyber risk with that same level of strategic seriousness? Because in the world we live in today, you absolutely have to.